We're standing by to stand by to stand by. We're standing by. Hey, WeatherBrains episode 592 is on the air. Getting close to the big 600. This is the pre-show for Monday, May 22nd, 2017. This is that magical time where we share boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes, and we say occasionally very outrageous things.
That we do.
Brian, 3 options. What route are you going to go tonight? The boring personal story, humorous anecdote, or something outrageous?
Actually,
or
I'm coming up blank on all three fronts.
Usually, like old guys like us always have a boring story. So I
have a boring story, I guess.
You're working the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament.
Yes.
Which starts tomorrow.
Technically starts tomorrow, but they actually, today was a day of practice. The teams were out there, individually. But the boring story is that I had a meeting with all the players involved with safety and SEC and all that sort of stuff at the Hoover Met. 5 o'clock. So I don't know what you call that, evening, afternoon, whatever. It's sort of transition time in there. So, but we had a very nice meeting and things are progressing nicely. We have lots of ways to notify people about severe weather threats, which I don't expect any, but the primary threat being that of lightning.
So what's the rule? 8 miles?
Yes, 8 miles is their rule. They do have a rule, though, about notifying the stadium at 10 miles.
Okay.
So now, interestingly enough, the ESPN guys that were there, they have a very hard and fast 8-mile rule. They can't use any judgment. If there's lightning at or within 8 miles, they shut down their cameras.
That's the way it works with SEC football. There's no wiggle room. I mean, I stopped the University of Alabama game. We had lightning within 7 miles. Yeah. And I mean, they stopped it immediately. I mean, the players went in the locker room. Fans were told to go on the concourse. And it was a case where Alabama was leading like 87-0 in the fourth quarter. So they decided not even to finish the game. They were playing like East Teboga Community College or something. So it was not exactly a big one.
Yeah, we had an incident last year where ESPN shut down or pulled their guys off the cameras, but the lightning was about 6 miles away, but it was east of the stadium and it was moving east. So the SEC actually decided not to shut down.
So let's say you get lightning like that. Who do you talk to? Do you talk to the commissioner, Slive, or not Slive,
no. In my case, it's Vince. Hold on a minute.
Vince. It's Vince with the SEC.
Yeah.
No, the new commissioner is not Mike Slive. Mike Slive retired. The SEC commissioner is
Herb Vincent is who I report to. He's the one who makes the decisions.
Greg Sankey. That's Greg Sankey's the new commissioner. Very, very nice guy. In fact, his daughter
is in meteorology.
Does television weather.
And in Indiana?
I think so. Illinois, Indiana, somewhere there.
I think it's Indiana.
Somehow, with all these young people, we typically have some kind of connection with them, but I don't think we do. I don't even know where she went to school.
I had a connection with her last year because she was actually here and was on the books as my assistant. But she is not here this year, and I'm not sure why.
So you don't have to split the $50,000 fee with anybody else. You take the whole thing.
You keep dreaming about these fees. Don't I wish it was $50,000? Yes.
So you should thank me for this job because about 4 or 5 years ago, they had a problem on the big championship day on Sunday, which is the last day, and they did not have any meteorologists working that tournament.
And they called on you.
They kept texting me, and I was trying to play tennis, and it was starting to rain, and I couldn't play tennis. So I just said, look, guys, I'll drive over there and help you out. So after 6 hours of being on site, My recommendation, you guys really need somebody on site to help you here. So that was the beginning of the Brian Peters era.
Yes. And I'm happy this is my second year because I did the event last year, and I think we were successful. So
they brought you back. Sure you were.
Well, apparently I was, because they did bring me back this year. So that's always a good sign, right? And I got a real nice note from her, Vincent, about my weather updates today. I knew that they were just practicing, but I gave them some updates. They were living right this afternoon. The showers were east of them, north of them, west of them, but none of them came over the stadium until about 5:45.
Wow.
So they were living right. So they got in just about all practice. I think the last group was practicing when they had to stop because of the rain. But
yeah, this is what the radar looks like at that venue now. That is just a big old mass of rain. Wow.
Yep. That's what I told them. Awesome. Coming.
This might be the last time the radar looks like this until sometime in October. I mean,
barring any unforeseen tropical systems.
Yes, that's right. Now, if you get a tropical system, it looks like that in summertime here. But
yeah,
that's the radar in our little abode here. And this is a very, very good beneficial rain here. This is just what the doctor ordered.
No got that right.
Severe weather, good steady soaking rain. So
yeah, I had 2.28 in the rain that we had Sunday, and or was that Saturday? I'm losing track of the days.
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday evening. Yeah. Yes. Between 3:30 and 10 o'clock, I had just a little over 2.25 inches of rain. And I've had nearly 3/4 of an inch of rain so far today.
Awesome.
So nice.
All right. So yeah, I was in Charleston, South Carolina this weekend. So I missed all the excitement.
Stealing Wi-Fi. I saw your wife posted a picture.
You got that right. I learned from the best.
I learned from the best. I will never forget. So I will never forget James Spann and the days in pillage. And I recall what you said. Just keep the motor running.
Yeah, we don't. If we get caught, we got to get out of here quick. We're stealing Wi-Fi.
Oh gosh, that was funny.
So it's like apparently just me and you. Although we started early, it's just 22 after the hour. But let me try and get these guests on here.
Well, we know Bill's out.
Yeah, Bill's like gone every week now. He's in. He's a worldwide traveler.
But he's only in Phoenix. But that's a long way from here. So I saw this wonderful new product coming out, and it's only $2 million. It's a nice business class jet. But instead of 5 million, it's only 2 million. WeatherBrains should get one of those.
Wow.
We already got a pilot. If we could ever find Nate Johnson again.
That's true. Wex Medler. I shouldn't be saying their email address here.
Oh, don't do that. Yes.
James H. It's got to be him. So I've invited both of our guests. Yeah, it's like everybody's gone, but it says Brian will be taking the lead tonight. So I hope you are aware of that.
I'm aware of that. It's just, and then all of the stuff with the blog came about while I was trying to get to the Hoover Met and the meeting with the SEC folks.
Yeah, we've had, excuse me. What is it about Monday nights lately? I've been tired Monday nights. Well, I know I'm tired this Monday night because we drove. I am more of a flyer in my old age, but we drove to Charleston, South Carolina, which is a pretty good little haul.
Yes, it is.
And
I've made that run once before.
Yeah, the last time I was in Charleston was for a hurricane called Hurricane Floyd, which was, I want to say, 1999. And we started in Jacksonville. And at the time, our company owned a station. We owned the ABC channel in Jacksonville, and we kind of helped them. And then we went up the coast, went through Savannah, and wound up in Charleston. And we have a station in Charleston, and worked out of the ABC channel there, WCIV, and we still do.
I guess with Sinclair owning all the stations they do along the Gulf Coast, I guess we won't be going to the coast for hurricanes anymore.
Yeah, they own Sinclair owns the ABC in Pensacola,
right?
And I want to say
which is the one in
the NBC in Mobile.
Yeah, they own one in Mobile. I'm not sure.
Is that right? Which I think it's the NBC in Mobile, the ABC in Pensacola, and they're buying Tribune.
Yeah,
which it's just these are interesting times.
They are.
That's
well. I'll just put my Hurricane Go bag on the top shelf of the closet.
Oh, come on, man! You are the guy. I mean, you will be down there doing weather reports for 97 TV stations.
Oh, no, they'll have their own guys down there. They won't need us.
Well, no, come on, man! You're big time. You're Brian Peters. You're the stinking internationally beloved meteorologist. Everybody loves you.
Yeah, I mean, let's not put that to the test.
I mean, your finest moments.
One international fan, Tarmo, over in Estonia.
No, you got all kind of fans. Come on. In fact, if you are, well, it's the pre-show. The international fans listen to the podcast, but I'll mention it during the podcast here. Who we have a guest here? Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you both.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, you've got good
nice
sounding
audio.
Very nice.
I invested good headphones.
Are you a pilot? You look like a pilot.
No, just a avid gamer.
Ah, okay. Well, obviously,
Brian and I play Pac-Man. Does that make us avid gamers?
Hey, if you put
still on Donkey Kong and Frogger.
Classics.
He probably doesn't even know what those names are.
No, he has no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, please. I played on Atari 2600 a little bit.
Oh, all right.
I still have a series of games that would plug into the back of a Commodore 64. That's how old I am.
Do you have the Commodore 64?
No, and I wish, I say I don't. I've got boxes of stuff. I hope I could I hope I have that thing. I never had a VIC-20. I spent the big bucks and got the Commodore 64. And that was, gosh, it seemed like it was yesterday. And that was back in the mid-'80s, I think.
I had a Trash 80, TRS 80 radio
for packet radio, amateur radio, packet radio.
Yeah.
And had some games and stuff, and goodness, and I want to say I had a cassette audio tape as the storage device, which
I had one of those.
Trying to read and write from that thing. Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Which guest is this? That's here.
I'm Mark.
That's Mark.
James holds a master's degree in emergency management.
Wait a minute. What's your last name, Mark?
Ellenwood.
Oh. How comes it says James? I must have got that wrong, huh? Yes, I did. That's all right. I named your file James Ellenwood, so nobody will know who you are.
Let's see.
Sorry about that.
Looks like James Hyde's having a little bit of trouble getting the link.
Let me tell you what. Let me do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link in the chat room, Mark, and what you can do, if you can maybe get that to him.
Yeah.
If he gets that link that's in the chat room, then magically he can figure this out. It's Google Hangouts remains a mystery to some degree.
Well, we did a little test run earlier ourselves, so I got him on there and we made sure everything worked.
Brian, I just noticed who Mark works for. Weatherbug. I'm surprised he didn't hang up on us.
Yeah. He probably hasn't heard the story.
I have not.
He might have been the guy. I don't know. I mean, we got some. Well, we got some guy so agitated as he hung up on us.
What was this?
About a year ago.
A year or so ago.
I'm going to see how you see if your side of the story.
No, we'll leave it at that. I mean, we were looking for solutions to our camera network here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just a unique situation. We are different. We are special, Brian.
We are.
And we have different needs in doing presets and all that. Just not what we got to have live motion on the fly. And we were having some problems with kind of communicating, and the guy got so mad at us he hung up on us. So I'll just that's the calm version there, Brian. So
was this after normal business hours?
No, this was during
it was the middle
audio presentation.
Oh,
we're this was a sales guy. We're not an existing customer. We are, and we were looking at some options and just kind of exploring.
And we asked the person to do if the system did what we wanted to, and it didn't. Well, that's the bottom line.
He got real mad. He got
real upset about it. He was very upset about it, and it's like, well, that's what we.
I think it was Mark. I think it was Mark. And Brian, you need to tell Mark you're sorry for making him mad.
I'm sorry, James made you mad.
Well, no, fortunately, I'm just part of the MedOps department that does all the forecasting. We don't really talk to sales or support or anything like that often.
Okay, well, if you run into some guy in sales and he looks like he's about to hit you, wind up with a left cut, you better duck.
Yeah. Oh, and let me welcome our television audience. It just dawned on me we are now 30 minutes after the hour. Welcome to those watching on the television side. This is WeatherBrains, the magical pre-show part of the program. And Brian, it's just you and me, man. Wow.
Rick sent a note just a minute ago. He's trying to get in, but he had to reboot, so he may be here yet.
Okay, and I'm not Mark. I'm not talking about our guest. I'm talking the regulars here. Typically, we have at least 4 or 5, and Brian, it's just me and you, pal. We're going to take this show to new heights tonight.
Well, where's Kevin? Where's Aubrey?
We
had no notice of anybody.
No. Now, Bill Murray sent a note and said he's speaking to a group in Walla Walla or Sheboygan or somewhere. Phoenix or whatever.
He's in Phoenix. That's pretty close to Walla Walla.
See, Bill is the interview guy. For those that have never listened or watched the show here before, Bill is the NPR guy. James, talk to us.
Hi there, James.
Oh, good Lord. We have James Squared on here tonight.
Yeah, that's not good.
We do.
So I have a question. I have a question of our guests.
Yes.
I just reached out to ustornadoes.com. Was it one of you guys?
I guess. Via Twitter?
Yeah, I guess it was. Is it Ian?
Oh, yes. He's our other.
He's a co-founder, basically.
Oh, so there's 3 founders.
Well, Ian and myself are the 2 main founders, and then we brought on James and one other person, Katie Wheatley.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I got some nosy questions for these guys. We'll ask once the show. In fact, let's start the show here. Come on, it's 32 after the hour.
We're almost early.
Yeah, only 2 minutes late. That is early for us. Trust me. So
we don't go by clocks.
And everybody got mad at me last week for James Wolfenbarger's audio was too low with WDT. Sorry, I probably should have checked off on that and done something. Here comes Aubrey.
Here comes Aubrey.
But here we go. We got this thing going. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 592 for May 22nd, 2017. This is the weekly show that is all about weather, our very favorite subject. Thanks for taking the time to listen. We are on the verge of kicking off meteorological summer here in less than a couple of weeks. And now I will say that in my older age, summer is not necessarily my favorite season. It was when I was a young whippersnapper. I like fall. Fall is the best. But thanks for joining us here. Let's see if we can hear Aubrey. Aubrey, say hello.
Hi, guys. How are you? Nothing?
It's working beautifully.
Oh, it's working. Okay, yay. Yay.
Except we caught you drinking.
Yes, this is
what? That's a show. That's a show title.
Aubrey
right
drinking on the job.
Straight moonshine. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Fresh from
so
West.
Aubrey Urbanowitz is in lovely Harrisonburg, Virginia, where let's see, what's the weather like up there? We'll do weather roundup in a bit, but I would imagine it's kind of maybe wet.
A little damp. Yep, had some rain, which is good for a lot of the gardens, and we definitely need the rain. More chances this week, but temperature's pretty comfortable. We're talking a high of 63 for tomorrow.
Will that be a record low maximum?
That was a good question. I will have to check.
That's nice.
No, we're expecting a high here of right around 70 on Wednesday.
Wow.
With that huge upper trough coming in here. I mean, this is a very deep trough for this late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a day for us, cloudy and cool with light rain or drizzle, and
it's the same
70. Yeah, that's Wednesday for us, and that's easily, if we do a high of 70, that'll easily break the record low high for May 24th, which is kind of exciting, and we're getting some really good rain here. In fact,
we are.
For those that happen to be watching, I will show you through the magic of Radar Scope. Our guest last week talked about this app. If you want to learn more about the app, go back and listen to episode 591. But that's our little abode down here, Brian Peters. And man, does that look beautiful or what?
I love it. Wet, rainy.
Now, I guess beautiful is in the eye of the beholder. Now, you've got a big event that you're handling this week, the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament, and this is not what they want to see.
No, they do not want to see this. As a matter of fact, I'm sure the field is covered this evening with all this rain, which I've been informing them of this rain coming, so the field should be covered, and we hope to get the baseball games in a timely fashion, working around the rain. Looks like most of this rain should be overnight tonight, and then tomorrow a little bit drier, so that'll be nice, but still the possibility of some showers. So,
by the way, Aubrey, Brian is getting his fee of $50,000 up front. He got that check today, so I think he should share the love with his friends here.
I'll share the love with something. I have a secret. I saw Aubrey's picture.
That's a show title. So describe this photograph. Is it something we can talk about here?
And what is it of?
She was one of only two women in the picture, fully clothed.
Oh, thank God.
Obviously, there's more to this than meets the eye, I can tell. You're featured in the AWARE report from the National Weather Service with the what was it? It wasn't an IWT meeting. What was it? You had a media meeting with the weather service that serves your area. Blacksburg. Yeah, that's it. And they had a picture of your whole group.
Oh, awesome.
But it was you, and I couldn't tell who the other person was. It's a small picture, but I could tell you, but I couldn't tell if it was.
Part of my group was Ricky Matthews, and then Chris.
Well, I didn't know if the other lady was. There were only two ladies in the picture, women.
Interesting.
So, and
James,
I could tell.
I was going to say, James, our record low max for tomorrow is 57.
Okay.
That's all right, Aubrey. I had to work a couple of weeks ago when we set a record low high.
Yes.
And every time I said it, I had to say it very carefully so you don't mess it up. Because that's not the kind of records we think of. So
I'm interested to see this picture, James or Brian. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, I'll try to send you the AWARE report.
I think Aubrey also needs to share what they do in that secret Facebook group just for female meteorologists.
I do too.
Brian, we're totally shut out from this thing.
It's a lot of encouragement. It is a lot of encouragement. Some ladies say happy birthday. Some ladies put up a link about a dress and say, hey, has anyone tried this brand or this type? Or, hey, I'm looking for a mascara that doesn't run. What's your best mascara? And, girly things like that.
That's another show title.
Now I'm going to get shunned. Now I'm going to get shunned because I'm letting out all of our secrets.
I'm sure that's not all of the secrets.
I still say I say they bash us over there. They get on that thing and they just bash people like me, Brian. These cranky old men that drive us crazy.
It is a very encouraging and uplifting group. Although some of them will post nasty things that people say to them or mean comments. And then we'll find funny videos and stuff about people, women empowering women and, taking on trolls and all sorts of stuff.
Well, when you have a conference, I expect to be a guest speaker.
I will say this. I do think most of the women I know in meteorology handle trolls and haters with more grace than I would ever have. They are good. I'm not good at it. And I've said this, to be successful, to survive in what we do, you've got to have this bizarre, and I mean really bizarre combination of sass and grace. And the women meteorologists that I know are so much better at it. They know when to be sassy and they know when to show grace. I need to learn from you guys. So I'm a big
hard
fan.
to do it sometimes, but sometimes just acknowledging a comment, depending on who they are, sometimes just acknowledging a comment makes them embarrassed and they end up deleting something anyways.
Yeah, that's my technique. The way I do it. Well, first off, I like to get ahead of the trolls and the haters. I'll get ahead of them, and I'll just address them, whether it's on social media or on television. Primetime television. I'll say, listen, if you're a troll or a hater or a know-it-all, let me talk to you for just a minute, and let's get it out of the way up front here. And I'm a big boy. Just send it on. Just send it on. I can handle it, but I will warn you. I will choose one choice hater and retweet it and repost to the world. And all I'm saying is, if you're going to dish it out, you've got to be able to take it. So I will take one choice hater, typically just at random. They're all nasty, and let the world take care of it. And there's a lot of people that support us, believe it or not. And not just the weather weenies that listen to this show. I think most people that listen to the show would support us, but a lot of people in the public support us. And you're right, Aubrey. I have had many a troll delete their Twitter accounts or shut down their Facebook accounts or make it private or whatever they do because they're totally humiliated. And it's just brutal. So,
yeah.
And then the one thing I want to say is never, to everyone listening out there, never, ever ask a woman if she's pregnant. Don't do it.
That is the show title.
And you know what? It mainly comes from a lot of the older ladies. They want to know if you're pregnant, if you're having kids, if you have a baby bump, and they want to be the first to know. Never, tell all your grandmothers, never ask a meteorologist or an anchor if they are pregnant.
All right. I hope everybody took that to heart. All right. So having said that, that trinket of knowledge that will carry you far in life. Brian Peters, let's bring in our guests.
Well, I can say unequivocally I'm not pregnant. So there you go.
Wait, where's the breaking news bell? Breaking news.
That does not qualify. That does not qualify.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
That doesn't qualify, James.
This just in.
Oh.
Brian Peters is not pregnant.
Thank you, Aubrey. You did that very well. I love the hand of the ear. That's great. James, just to keep up with Aubrey, maybe we should start a men's group of meteorologists.
You guys have that crazy broadcast meteorologist group. Trust me, there is a lot of
then we can share
in there.
Lots of personal notes about underwear.
I'll agree with Aubrey. That deal, the one I see, I don't know how many we have, but the one I see on Facebook, we don't need another guy group. Mess. Trust me.
Well, if you've managed to get past all the stuff at the beginning of this show, we do have a couple of actual WeatherBrains on tonight with us. Guest WeatherBrain number 1, who I've already titled his image the wrong name, but that's okay. He'll forgive me, I'm sure. He grew up obsessed with lightning and severe weather. He has a BS in atmospheric sciences from SUNY Albany, and he's employed at Earth Networks, parentheses, WeatherBug, where he spends his work days making custom forecasts and monitoring the weather for a wide variety of industries. Please welcome Mark Ellenwood to WeatherBrains. How are you, Mark?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic.
And he's got good audio there because he's a what?
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. All right.
All right. So what? So wait a minute. What game do you play? I got to ask the nosy questions here.
Right now I'm all about Rocket League, which came out a little over a year ago, 2 years ago. And it's basically you play soccer in a 3D stadium with rocket-powered cars.
So what's it called? Rocket
League.
Rocket Lead.
League.
All right.
As in, you're out of my league.
Okay. All right. Brian, me and you, we're going to learn that game the next 5 years if we live that long.
Okay. That means I have to graduate from Frogger?
Yeah. And Pac-Man.
And
Tooth Invaders.
So you grew up obsessed with lightning. What was your obsession with lightning, Mark?
Just way back in the day, and whenever we would get a thunderstorm up in central New York, my dad would take us out into the back porch whenever a storm was rolling in. We watched it, and whenever a thunderstorm was around, we didn't get them too often where I grew up. Yeah. But every single time as I heard the thunder, boom, right to the window so I can watch it come down.
Well, you're a man after my own heart, because I grew up in central Vermont on the border with New Hampshire, and my mother says I used to just sit in the living room by the window on the sofa, looking out the window that was behind the sofa, watching thunderstorms. So I must have been obsessed with lightning and didn't know it either. But anyway. Well, okay, before we go on, let's get our next Weather Brain guest in here. He caught the weather bug watching tall cumulus towers build in the deserts of Arizona. Wow, talk about two different coasts, New York and Arizona. During monsoon season, James' meteorology interests include radar, satellite, remote sensing, and observational networks. He holds a master's degree in emergency management from North Dakota State University and a bachelor's in geospatial information systems from Millersville University. James Hyde, welcome to WeatherBrains.
Thanks for having me. And I'm sorry my mic's not good as good as Mark's. I tried to get a headset going, but yeah.
Well, that's all right. You sound fine, so that's great. So what got you? Great. So it was the tall cumulus clouds in Arizona, so because you don't get too much down there except in the monsoon season. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I moved around with a military family going up. So I was actually born in Oklahoma, lived a few of my days in Massachusetts and Boston during the 4 snowiest winters, and got my weather bug in Arizona with the monsoon, and I lived in Maryland for a little bit, and now I live in Fargo, North Dakota.
Holy mackerel. I thought I got around. Holy mackerel. I got around the southeastern U.S., but you got around the whole country.
Yeah, the only thing I haven't done is hurricanes so far, which is actually ironic given my my thesis and my research topics. So.
And what was your thesis?
Uncertainty of meteorologists in forecasting and tracking hurricanes and their communication.
So have you been through any hurricanes?
Isabel in 2003 and was it Bob in 90? What was the Boston one? Gloria 92, I think. And yeah, and I think that's a couple of tropical storms like Faye, 13, a lot of heavy rain events in Pennsylvania. Lee in 2011 was a big one. So here and there, but just a smattering here and there.
Well, you've certainly seen your share of weather bouncing around the country between Oklahoma, Massachusetts, Arizona, and now, I'm sorry, is it North or South Dakota?
North Dakota, Fargo.
Fargo, okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. By the way, South Dakota, I know North Dakota is a long state too, but when my daughter and I drove across to go from Chicago to Mount Rushmore, South Dakota is a long state from the time you enter till the time you get to the other side. That's a long state.
Yeah, North Dakota is long too. I just want to point out that North Dakota is the better of the Dakotas because we're on top, and we got the better weather too.
I like that. It's on top. That's wonderful. All righty. Okay. Well, let's get into something serious. I'm sure people would like to know, and I'll go back to Mark here, since Mark was one of the original founding fathers of the organization. So exactly how did ustornadoes.com get started?
Well, Ian Livingston really gets basically all the credit for starting the site. It was his idea to come up with it. He registered everything, and we've been storm chasing for 2 seasons already, and he wanted to figure out a way to get constant content onto the blog that we run, ustornadoes.com. And he thought I could do forecasting. So we thought, well, what could we do that's unique? And so in 2012, we started doing 7-day tornado threat forecasts. So something similar to what the SPC does, only out to 7 days, which comes with its uncertainties, of course, but kind of honed in on a system the last couple of years that we really like. And once Ian and I got kind of lagged out a little bit from doing constant posts, we started inviting more and more people. James was, I think, the second one to come on.
Yep.
And we also had Katie Wheatley. Katie's the main GIS map guru. She makes a bunch of fun interactive maps with all of our tornado data on it.
Mm-hmm. So how many people are there altogether behind ustornadoes.com? Just 4?
Yeah, we're the main 4. We do have guest pieces every once in a while. We've been bringing on Andrew Barrington a little bit more often now. He makes really nice in-depth posts about classic weather events. And we used to have Catherine Proctive on there, doing somewhat stable posts until she got her job at the Weather Channel a couple years back.
And now she's a little busy, huh?
Oh, yeah, just a little bit.
Well, what is the primary goal of your website? Do you?
Just to educate and be the highest integrity we can. We try to be very level-headed with everything. And Ann loves going through stats and trying to figure out new ways to display it and dig out patterns. So it's basically his test bed. And,
gotcha.
He learned his own. He's been learning GIS on his own for the last several years and getting better at making his own maps as well. So.
Yeah, I came up just before GIS became the thing, and I wished I knew more about it. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm really lost when you get into GIS. I'm really lost. I understand the concepts, but that's as far as it goes. Well, what would you say are the main? Who are the main contributors? You mentioned that you do the forecasts. Are you the primary forecaster?
Yeah, I'm the primary forecaster. We did have a gentleman by the name of Quincy come on for a few posts last year. And I usually kick off the season with a spring forecast for how active I think the season will be from March through May. They're doing all right with that. They're doing all right as far as the long-range forecasting is going. And then once the tornado season starts to get active around early to April, I'll start to do bi-weekly updates until probably early to mid-June when it starts getting quiet again.
And what is the tornado season for North Dakota? Or are you? Wait, I should back that up. Where are you?
Mark.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm in Rockville, Maryland, about 10 miles north of D.C.
Okay, somehow or other, I got the association of you and James, but I'm sorry. So you're in Rockville, Maryland.
Yes, I'm currently there, and I work up at Germantown for WeatherBug. That's where our main hub is for all of our forecasting.
All righty. Okay.
Well, I met Mark and Ian when I lived in D.C., and that's how we know each other through that
that's
connection.
Great.
So,
well, since North Dakota is kind of it is one of the most northern states we have in the lower 48. Exactly when is your tornado season?
We are the latest in the tornado season in the plains. Our tornado season starts around June and goes through early August, with our peak around late June. The seasons here change quite a bit, pretty drastically. We have obviously a long winter, and then a little bit of a spring, and then a hot summer, and then back to a long winter. So we get a short tornado season, but we get tornadoes, very strong tornadoes at times. One of the most famous is the Fargo tornado of '57, which Dr. Ted Fujita was one of his first case studies here. So that was an EF5 that went through the town and actually went through straight through my office at my university. Oh
my.
Yeah, so it was actually pretty interesting. And so there's a lot of great history of tornadoes up here in North Dakota, but it's very storied and definitely our state's mostly agriculture, so you get a lot of stories. A lot of people have been around here for a long time. People who usually live in North Dakota have lived in North Dakota for their entire lives. So there's lots of history and oral history and things. So and that's what Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just to say, my contribution to U.S. tornadoes is mostly historical tornadoes. So I'm more of a historian. I'm a researcher by trade. So I, tend to dig up old stories and I try to make accurate portrayal of stories. So, trying to bring the history back to life for the people that were there and try to retell the stories and maybe serve a future purpose and if it can happen once, it can happen again. So.
Oh, sure. Well, my impression of North Dakota and South Dakota too is that there's a lot of wide open spaces. So is putting together a good tornado database a fairly difficult thing to do?
Yes. The tornado history database is pretty marked in uncertainty, especially before about 1950. The most comprehensive tornado data set that I think anybody has compiled so far is by Mr. Grazelis, a Vermont native, as you may know.
Yes, Tom.
Yes. He published his big green book of everything.
Yes. The Bible of tornadoes.
It is called the Bible of Tornadoes. It is, in fact, every single book, every single tornado that has pretty much ever been recorded is in that book. And I have a copy. If you want to go on eBay, you can get one for $200 to $500 if you want to do that.
They were expensive originally, and they're still expensive too.
Yeah, I have it right here, actually, on my shelf. Thank you for my lovely fiance for fetching that for me. But here is the book. It is the Significant Tornadoes, 1680 through 1991. So if anybody
with an update from 1992 to, I want to say, did he go through?
I think it went through about 95 or 96. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I thought he went a little further than that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you want a tornado history, I think that's the place to start. Otherwise, you can look at his tornado video classics.
Yes.
They're on YouTube now. Tornado Video Classics 1, 2, and 3. I think that'd be a great place to start. It's got some really old archival footage in there, and it really takes you through the history. So. Yes,
and you mentioned 1957 Dallas tornado. I think is one of the ones that's in his.
Yes, the 1957 Dallas tornado is also in there. So 1957 was a pretty big year, both the Fargo and the Dallas tornado.
Well, let me get back to Mark for a second. You piques my interest, and I'm sure it does James too, when you start talking about 7-day forecasts of tornadoes, since the SPC occasionally does do that, and they occasionally get burnt. So do you have any verification on what how your forecast has done?
I think Ian is going to start working on that. Verification is a lot of work when you're just using a Photoshop file and putting shapes on a map. But I do take mental notes of all my forecasts and verifications. I check every morning and see where the reports are, and Ian kind of brings up the tornado counts every once in a while. And before, it was mostly just figuring out what kind of numbers to put down. And I started off a little too conservative with lower tornado numbers, and then slowly brought them up. And then you kind of, over the course of several years, I found this unique balance where I can generally get the range correct. But again, I usually offer up a fairly wide range.
Well, what does your forecast look like? I mean, are you doing a graphic as to where they'll be, or are you just trying to record numbers, or what does the forecast look like?
Yeah,
honestly, I've looked at ustornadoes.com, but I haven't seen your forecast specifically. So
well, they're right on top now.
Yes.
Yeah, and for people watching live, you can see it, but many people listen, so that's why we asked to kind of describe what people are seeing here.
So there's two graphics that I put out. One's the 1 to 3 day forecast, and they're basically just different shapes that show the domain of where I expect tornadoes to fall during those days. And I find that in general, the size is usually a little overdone, especially once you get out beyond day 3, just because of the uncertainty involved. But I try my best to look at mainly the Euro and GFS and a few other ones in there, and now more of the high-res models to come up with as accurate as a forecast as I can. And sometimes I get burned on day 1, sometimes I nail a day 6 forecast. It's part of the risk you take when you're trying something new.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Do you consider yourself in competition with the guys at SPC when you issue these?
Oh, not at all. This is just a hobby for me at this point. I do it for free, and it's just something interesting, and it helps me hone my skill. And it keeps me ready to go for whenever we go chasing later in the spring, which actually we're heading out this upcoming weekend. So,
and what are the prospects? What are your prospects?
Well, the early week next week doesn't look terribly great, but we start hitting somewhat more favorable overall pattern once we get toward the back half of next week. So fingers crossed we get something interesting this year.
We already moved it by a week.
Yeah, one of the problems.
Who do you guys go with? I mean, do you go together, or how many go?
Yeah, it's myself, James, and Ian. This will be our 4th year out together. I did skip last year, and Ian went out with somebody else.
What? Why?
He cheated on us.
Go. Ian will never not go chasing.
You double timer.
Yeah.
But
Ian will not skip a year. Ian loves his tornadoes, and so last year I had an internship with the National Weather Service up here at Grand Forks, so I couldn't really take too much time off, and Mark had some obligations, I think, so Ian just decided to go on his own. And he actually he got the Dodge City tornado and the
Bennington 2.0.
Bennington 2.0. So yep. Good on him.
Let me ask you guys, and again, they pay me to be in a room with no windows in front of a green wall when tornadoes are flying. That's just my life. I don't get out, and I think the video and the information that chasers report back is invaluable, but it just seems like every year we hear the increased number of emotional outbursts and anger, and we've had this accident. Do you see that to be an increasing problem where there's so many, that this chaser convergence and there's tension and people fussing at each other? Is that a problem, or is that just maybe something we hear and it's not a problem?
It is starting to become more of a problem, especially this year. There's been several instances between run-ins from other chasers hitting each other to emergency management. I know there was one case, there was a fire chief that was an unmarked vehicle at the time, trying to direct chasers, and the chasers were trying to get up in his face because they didn't know who this person was. So things are getting a little bit more aggravated out there. I don't think it's necessarily because there's more and more people, so much so as maybe chasers are becoming a little bit more emboldened as they get further on in their years.
Why is that, you think?
I'm not quite sure, actually. I'm not sure what has been changing within the chaser culture over the last few years that has led a little bit more to this. Maybe it's just the overall exposure where there's so many streamers and people live tweeting and on Facebook and everything that it just comes out more.
Let me ask you this, and again, we've had these streaming services like the one Corey Hartman has, and there's so many. Seems like more and more now I'm seeing the chaser guys streaming over on Facebook Live, and that they're figuring out real quick, you can get 50,000, 100,000 viewers like that, but there's no money involved. What's it look like for the streaming? Is that where this is going? Is it moving over toward Facebook, or is it still mostly proprietary?
There has been sort of a move towards Facebook and YouTube, especially this season. I know TornadoVideosLive.com got taken down because they couldn't afford to keep it up, so some of those people were looking for a new outlet. But yeah, the people are quickly finding that having your own exposure on your social media pages and getting a lot of followers that way is a lot better for you than trying to stream through one of these stable websites like Severe Studios or something like that.
Is the buy again, Brian? I'm sorry, I'm hogging the interview.
No,
here,
you go right ahead.
Talking about chasing here,
yes.
And again, I find what they do invaluable. Understand, I'm all in, but I'm just what is the motivation now, Mark and James? The main motivation for most people, and this I know this is not true for everybody. Is it monetary profit? Is it just the thrill of it, or is it reporting to the Weather Service? What's the main motivation for most people going out there and doing this for 3 or 4 weeks every May and June?
Well, I think most people out there, including myself, Ian, and James, are more doing it for the thrill seeking. And we all enjoy photography, especially landscape photography, and storms just provide an amazing something to fill the frame. And of course, with our natural weather obsession and just being out there, it's just a joy for us to be out there. And we hope that every sort of storm has a nice big tornado in an open field that doesn't hit anything. But
now, do you guys sell your videos, or how does that work for you guys?
Usually not. Actually, the only video I've ever sold was when I went up to do lake effect snow chasing a few years ago. And I've sold a couple of storm photos, But I know Ian and James are not necessarily as enthusiastic about going that route with their content, so they just kind of enjoy what they have and don't worry about getting any sort of monetary gain out of it.
I think over the, especially, I think probably if you were to go back a decade ago, I believe a lot of the monetary, I think you could actually make somewhat of a profit, whether it be, replacing gas money or other things off, storm chasing video and other things. But with so many chasers now and the spread of mobile phones, it's more than likely or not these days for somebody to shoot a tornado out their back porch with a mobile phone and get a better picture than any storm chaser. I think that's becoming more and more of a thing. Regarding storm chasing itself, in terms of the pursuit of storm chasing and why people do it, I think storm chasers are all different. It really depends person to person, group to group. I think Mark, Ian, and I really have found a niche within ourselves in that we go out for the beauty of it, and also the plains is just a great place. I always like to say to people who haven't done it before, storm chasing is following the wind. It's like, we're just chasing the wind, like that old song. And it'll take you places that you never expected or never thought you could go. And just being out there in the prairie, it's just really relaxing. Whether it's a tornado or not. I think tornadoes have some, a thrill value to them. I'm personally, I don't get, overly excited about tornadoes because I know, their downsides. I prefer a nice sculpted supercell in the open plains, but if there's a tornado there, I will, take pictures of it. I think for documentation purposes, for reporting purposes, for I think just the general adventureness of it. I think that's probably the main draw. I don't think there's too many people anymore strictly in for monetary gain anymore. I think that's been gone for a few years.
And most people, you lose money. I mean, think of all the gas money and equipment and food and hotels. I mean, it's not cheap doing this.
Oh no, it's definitely not cheap. I think on average for 2 weeks in the plains, Mark, Ian, and I have run about 500 to 800 total for 2 weeks. So 400 a week on average for each person. It's not cheap. But if it's something that it's really worth doing to you, as I believe it is for me and Mark and Ian, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. I think that, it's got to be worth your time and money. And I think just for me, just being out there and being with, the wildlife and with the storms is enough. So I think I definitely get my money's worth out of it. But for others, maybe not. It really depends on the person.
Has your and this is for both of you to answer if you want, has your view of storm chasing changed at all with the advent of what has happened a couple of years ago with the El Reno storm, as well as the accident that happened earlier this year with the storm chasers and what they call this storm chaser convergence? Has your opinion of storm chasing changed or been modified at all?
I can try to answer that. I think the El Reno tornado obviously was a tragic event, and I think I echo a lot of other chasers when say that Tim, Paul, and Carl were probably just in the wrong place at the wrong time trying to get their probes out, and it's unfortunate, but that's what they were out to do. They were out to get the probes out. And I think the El Reno tornado, took obviously a hard left, and it was kind of unexpected, and that's really sad. As per the I don't think the chaser culture has changed that much since then. People still get close to tornadoes, and people have their limits. I always like to follow Howie Bluestein's rule, which is 4 kilometers. If we try to do that, sometimes Ian and Mark get me closer, but we try to abide by that rule.
When it's safe.
When safe, right? But people's definition of safe differs from person to person. I mean, people can get the Oklahoma chasers who get really, really close for media or others, they're fine with 250 feet. I'm fine with a couple miles, but it really depends. So people have their own risk tolerances, and I think that's fine, as long as that risk tolerance doesn't impair other people's risk tolerances, right? So if you're causing potential harm to somebody else who's trying to get out because they feel it's too close, and you want to get closer, and maybe you're on a dirt road and somebody's trying to go back and you're trying to go forward, then I think the person trying to go back should get the right of way. Obviously, that leads into chasing convergence nowadays. I think Ian, Mark, and I had a very, speaking of the El Reno tornado, we decided on that day to not go to El Reno, even though we saw the storm. We saw it from 35, 40 miles away, but we decided, it's going towards the Oklahoma Metro. There's a lot of chaser dots around there. It's, pretty crowded, and there's some road options. There's the Red River, or the Canadian River that goes through Norman. So that was clogging up some bridges. And so I think I tried to make them turn around and at least get a little closer, but Mark and Ian shot me down.
Man, that was, I tell you, we made, I think, 3 U-turns that day, debating on whether or not we wanted to get to it or not, because it was the only play of the day as far as interesting storms were concerned, and we're out there to see the most interesting storms. But in the end, we evaluated the risk, and especially the recent scare from the May 20th tornado, that we just did not want to get up in that business because we knew it was going to be bad.
Well, Mark, I want to give you a chance to answer the original question about whether your view of storm chasing has changed any over the years with your experience and or the events that have transpired in the chaser community.
It has slightly. I came into storm chasing knowing a decent amount of what the community was even before I first went out. And I chased with a veteran chaser, Jason Foster, with my first year. So we met up with a bunch of classic chasers and got the idea of what the atmosphere was like back in like 2011. Even that much has changed in the last several years. But I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from all of it is when we can, we try to avoid the crowds by taking maybe a slightly worse road a couple miles away. And if we see a potentially hazardous situation where you're getting a lot of chasers converging onto 1 or 2 major intersections, we'll back off and just get ahead of the storm by a few more miles and stay ahead of the pack.
And what overall in your chasing, and you said you all have been doing this for 3 years, is that right? This is your 4th one?
Yes, myself, James, and Ian as a group. This will be our 4th year. Ian and I went out a couple of years before.
And not a long story, but a short story. What is your most impressive catch? Storm chase catch?
I think that might actually be the first day we were out there with James. First year, we drive from Maryland in my vehicle, and we overnighted to get to central Kansas because we thought there'd be tornadoes that day, and a lot of people were in that Roselle area. So yeah, this was 2013, and the storm was lagging for a while and ended up producing several amazing tornadoes. And I think it was just the excitement of the atmosphere, mainly because this was James' first day out there chasing, and had one of the most yeah. So he was scrambling, trying to figure out what to do and what the routine was, and we were like, plus overnighting.
That was a very hectic day for the beautifulness of the Roselle tornado and the sunlit back. That was my first ever day setting foot in Kansas ever. So, and first time tornado chasing in the plains. I had done some local chases in Pennsylvania and Maryland before, but it's a whole different ball game when you're out there. And especially Ian and Mark and I have a system. Mark is the driver. I'm navigator and radar person, and Ian is usually in the back seat, social mediating and keeping an eye on things. And I think it's really, having chasing with 3 people is really nice because it's always a rule of 3. So 2 can overrule 1. So you're never it's always an odd number. And I think that's helped us out many a times, and it's actually saved us from many occasions of either busting or getting ourselves too much in danger. I think the 3 roll is actually really important.
Well, James, I think you must be a very lucky guy to be able to go on your first storm chase and to catch something so quickly.
Yeah, it was definitely luck of the draw. We didn't plan that at all. So that was I looked totally out of sorts that day. I just could not get my head on straight.
And just for clarification, Mark, when you said you see, what was the word you used? You pulled an overnighter.
Yeah.
That means you drove all night, right? The 3 of you.
Yeah, we'll generally take turns.
Yeah.
I love driving, so I'll do most of it. So we would head out like middle of the day on a Friday, and then by Saturday afternoon, we'd be in central Kansas ready to go.
Gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that to be sure, because I've made a few chases from central Alabama out that way, but I haven't pulled an overnighter with my colleagues. So
yeah,
it's something that we try to avoid.
Yeah, there's only been 1 year we haven't done it, but
right.
Might as well keep doing it while we're relatively young, so that by the time we get older, we can take our time a little bit more.
Hopefully, by the time we get over, there'll be autonomous cars and they can drive us out.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. The question I have about autonomous cars is, will they know not to drive into tornadoes?
Oh, I think this is I'm such a futurist. This is some kind of dilemma I see battling out probably in about 20 to 30 years from now. And the fact that will an autonomous car with GPS allow you to drive into a tornado warning area?
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Will it allow you to drive into a tornado warning polygon? My guess is my ethical guess is yes. However, you're gonna have to hit some kind of button on the screen, or you're gonna like yes, I agree, terms of service, right? You agree that you're driving into a dangerous situation, and I think that's probably the way to tackle it. But with autonomous cars and other things coming up down the road, I think I hope to see lots of safety improvements. First of all, I think people who die in cars in tornadoes and seek shelter under overpasses are probably not in the right frame of mind. But I think that I think hopefully autonomous and these kind of things will help with that. So,
well, Mark, I have a question for you about snow forecasts. I understand that you don't only do tornado forecasts, but you also do some winter. Bill's note here is that you make snowfall forecasts for the Mid-Atlantic. So how does that work out?
Usually I do all right. We
think Mark posts the GFS out to 384 hours, Brian. That's how he does it.
All the time.
Yeah, everybody does it.
But no, usually I try to wait within 2 to 3 days of the event, get a rough version out, and then refine it as it gets closer. But I started doing that actually at my old job, because my old job didn't really focus on a lot of short-term stuff. It was more energy and agricultural medium range forecasting. So originally that just started as an outlet for me to learn more and do more forecasting. That's kind of what more interested in. And I've just been keeping up with it over the years.
So did you hit the, wasn't there a pretty good storm up there this winter? Did you hit that one?
I did all right. The hardest part about the Mid-Atlantic is figuring out where the rain snow line is and where the sleet's going to mix in. The sleet is what got me the worst. I definitely over forecasted maybe a band of 20 or 30 miles, because what was supposed to be 18 hours of snow ended up being 4 to 6 hours of snow and 12 hours of sleet.
Yeah. It sounded to me like the sleet bit a lot of forecasts pretty bad.
Yeah, and it really wasn't picked up on until maybe within 24 to 36 hours of the event. So people that already had all these really big forecasts of 1 to 2 feet out, you pull the rug underneath that, and you have to cut your totals in thirds. Some people necessarily aren't as bold to make those big changes. So that's where you end up getting some of those busts.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for, I'm torn, but there's something to be said for continuity too. Where you're not your forecast is not bouncing around, because that tends to, I think, make things somewhat confusing. I know in the little bit of stuff I do for outdoor events, I try to maintain some continuity in my forecast, but I inch it towards my newer thinking as opposed to the other thinking.
Yeah.
But I still try to maintain some continuity there. So,
and the worst part is it's usually not a big bust, but what happens is you'll have the I-95 cities where there's tens of millions of people, and you have this 10 to 15 mile wide area where if you get it wrong, it's going to be a bust to 30 million people. But if you move it 50 miles west where there's a lot less people, it's not necessarily much of an issue.
Yeah. Well, and sociologists are telling us, too, that people sometimes hear what they'd like to hear, not always what you're forecasting. So
everybody's a little bit of a weenie.
Yeah. Well, that
let me ask you guys a question about the SPC, changing the subject here. I've heard some people grumbling that the SPC is doing too many high risks and they're making too many mistakes. What are your thoughts on that, gentlemen?
Well, I think that we are starting to get better forecasting models and better technology and more experience that we can start to issue maybe more of these smaller areas of high risk where we know there's going to be maybe a concentrated squall line putting out wind reports over several hours. And I'm not sure if what they're doing right now is a little bit more experimental testing the waters and seeing what kind of verifications they get. I wouldn't say they necessarily picked the best days to do it. There were some uncertainties inherent in both days. So I can understand the decision to do it. I'm not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing with it. I just want to see where it goes.
I think there's I agree with Mark. I think they're due to the better forecasting and model improvements and other things that we've learned through the past 30 years. I think in a lot of cases the high risk is warranted. If you look at the probabilities, I don't know if you look at the what's it called, perfect forecasts, or it uses storm reports. It's basically like a look back, and it says, if you were to forecast this for yesterday, then there would be, there was 70% chance that there was a tornado in this area. So I think in retrospect, if you look at things retrospectively, the percentages are a lot higher in these small areas than SPC puts out. So do I think that the risk margins in terms of percentage are accurate? Yes, I think that's fine. What we have to make sure, and from a public understanding standpoint, is if we say high risk, right, then we're implying that there is a good chance, right? And so what we need to better equate in the old times, the high risk meant outbreak, right? Even if you look at some of the NWS graphics now, high risk equals outbreak, right? So do we need, but if you look at the percentages, that doesn't always, pan out. I think there needs to be a discussion between meteorologists, SPC, NWS, stakeholders, maybe even get some sociologists involved about what kind of perception we're implying when they put out the high risk. And I think historically, as we said, high risk equals outbreaks. But if we're going with a probability based, as the SPC is, if you go down in the SPC website, high risk equals 30 hatched, right, or whatever it is. So I think there needs to be a little bit of a discussion about whether we want to go with more of the probability standpoint, in which case the high risk is warranted, or we go with more, a public sociological thing when we say high risk is that equals outbreak.
And I think they're getting a bad rap, and I think you guys have some good points. But I think one of the things that comes into play, it's the urban versus rural bias. It just seems like if on a high-risk day, if a larger city is not hit by a tornado, whether it's Oklahoma City, Norman, Tulsa, Dallas, Wichita Falls, Wichita, whatever, and these are tornadoes in rural areas, then it doesn't matter. It's just like people want to see doom and gloom and death on television in big cities, and it doesn't happen. But yet you had tornadoes that verified the forecast. They were just out in the middle of nowhere. And it's this bizarre culture where if you don't live in a city, then you don't matter. It doesn't count. And I don't understand that. I still say that people that live in rural areas are discriminated against in many, many, many different ways. But let me change the subject here. So let's go back to the site ustornadoes.com. This is really some great information you guys have here. And I've been aware of the site and have looked at it before a good bit. But if you go to the site guide, you've got, we talked about the tornado forecast, but you've got tornado forecasting, a 3-part introduction series, tornado climatology, and all this marvelous information here. This has to be a lot of hard work because there's a lot of good material here, guys. This is great stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ian puts in many, many hours to the point where his girlfriend has been nagging on him quite a bit. But, I mean, he'll do his day job, and then he'll come home and spend most of an evening, a couple of times a week, just hacking away at data and trying to figure out how to map it the way he likes it. And it's just a main hobby. That's why he wanted to start the site, just so he had a way to take his 10 to 20 hours a week, whatever he was doing, looking all this stuff up and putting it out there for everybody to see.
I think the goal of U.S. Tornadoes and what Ian and Mark set out to do, and I think it's just become a one-stop shop resource. I think, if somebody wants to learn about tornadoes in the United States, then, our site should be, we made the site to fulfill that promise or fulfill that need. So yep, exactly. I think whether it's tornado history, tornado education, anything related to tornadoes that you have a question about, I think you could probably find on our site. And if you have a question about USA tornadoes that you can't find on the site, then tell us and we'll make something about it.
Yeah, we are actually going to probably sometime this summer. It's been brought up by a few different people to have more of elementary, middle school resource type of thing. Because I've looked at our statistics on our site, and every once in a while we'll see just random teacher web pages where articles are part of the curriculum now. So we need to eventually, probably by the end of the summer, make a dedicated page for a little bit more of that education outreach.
That would be good.
Awesome. So my next nosy question, Brian.
Yeah.
How are you guys making money on this deal? How do you monetize this, or do you?
We thought about it and have not yet done it. Ian pays for the site himself, and we just keep it up and running.
We don't make any money off this.
So this is basically a labor of love.
Yes, it does get a little bit harder each year, but we are still keeping it up.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, James, you're about to say something. I stepped on you.
We have no corporate interests. we are 100% volunteer and labor of love, as you said. I think that well describes it.
But that doesn't mean you're not open to corporate support, right?
Probably not. Once Ian gets tired of forking out the money every year, we might eventually go that route.
I think maybe some advertising dollars are probably in our future, but we're going to try to keep it free and open to the public as long as we can.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Bless you. Well, James, go ahead, James.
I was just going to say that's how we do this show here. I mean, we look, we all have jobs. Everybody here has got a job, and we're paid. And
really?
This is a labor of love. Even though we've turned down $1 million advertising contracts because we don't want to take it. No, but I totally understand that concept. What? So, but Brian, I give you 2 minutes to wrap this thing up because we've got to move on here.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to ask the other James, not you, one more quick question. I wanted to know more about the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network, NDAWN. I thought.
Yes, NDAWN is so as you said, the North Dakota Agricultural Weather Network is one of the least known mesonets in the country, but it's also the oldest mesonet in the country.
Wow.
It's started even before the Oklahoma mesonet. It's a series of 94 stations across North Dakota And it got started because North Dakota farmers wanted to know what was happening in their fields in terms of rainfall. And there's lots of obviously, weather is a huge, huge deal for agriculture and farmers. And so it got started, and now we're up to 94 stations. I say I volunteer with them on occasion. Check them out at endon.org.
We'll do. I'll put a link in our show notes to it, so that people can go just to our show notes and get a link to it. That sounds interesting. That's one of the things I wish we had down here at James Spann. We had down here in the southeastern U.S. is a mesonet. We just don't have anything in the southeastern U.S. that rivals either Endon or the Oklahoma mesonet.
Well, let me make some calls on that. But, hey, we got to take a pause here, guys. So let me warn James and Mark, we'll need picks of the week from you guys here in a few minutes, something to do with weather. So that'll be the last thing we –
Yeah, you can't use U.S. Tornado's website or Severe Studios because I already have those in the show notes. So you have to pick something else.
So we're going to take a break. And Brian, you've been busy. We don't have a Professor Peters this week. We got a Tony Rice astronomy report. We'll come back with the email roundup from Aubrey. We'll do picks of the week and much more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook.
The 5 naked eye visible planets will be visible for the next few weeks. Look for Mercury above the tree line before sunrise in the east. Then look to the right, and you'll find brighter Venus. This morning, the crescent moon was nestled up against Venus. By Tuesday morning, though, it will be between Mercury and Venus. Look for it on your morning run or dog walk. Now, just after sunset, look for Mars above the tree line in the western sky. Saturn will rise around 10:30 p.m. local time and remains visible until sunrise. Jupiter is also visible high in the southern sky after sunset. It remains visible most of the night, setting around 4 a.m. The moon turns new this Thursday, and this coincides with lunar perigee, or the closest point in the moon's orbit around Earth. So this is technically a supermoon. But since this is a new moon, it's not quite as exciting, but it can be. This is a great time to look for Earthshine. Earthshine is the light reflected from Earth onto the face of the moon. While much of that light is absorbed by the moon's surface rather than reflected, enough makes it back to our rods and cones to make out the disk of the moon that's not being directly illuminated by the sun. Now, back in the 16th century, Leonardo da Vinci explained this phenomenon after he'd realized that both the Earth and the moon were reflecting sunlight at the same time. Earthshine's a bit more prominent on the East Coast, because as the moon rises, it's receiving more light reflected off of North America. The land is more reflective than the ocean. Earthshine is also more prominent in the winter, thanks to the snowpack across Canada and the upper Midwest. Clouds can also contribute something here. They're much more reflective. The best time to experience Earthshine is just before and just after the new moon. So take a look tomorrow evening and then again this weekend. That's your Astronomy Outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
We're doing this show on May 22nd, 2017. Actually, at the top of the show, we gave most of this away. Down here in the Deep South, Brian Peters, it's raining.
It's raining.
Rain.
Very nice rain.
We still have drought conditions for parts of the southeast United States. And, of course, very beneficial for many people. Hopefully, they're going to get a good bit down in places like Jacksonville and Savannah and Florida, where the wildfires have been raging. So good kind of rain here. A deep, cold trough coming down the pike. And Aubrey up in Harrisonburg, Virginia, you're going to be cool.
Yeah, you're sending us your remnants,
cool.
James.
Yep. So we've all got the cracks at these record low maximum temperatures in coming days. And that's kind of exciting stuff. And in terms of severe weather, I guess it'll be fairly – our U.S. tornado experts are here. So what's the 7-day tornado outlook, guys?
Well, it's not looking terribly active over the next 7 days. We'll have little spits and spurts of potential tornado activity in the southern plains over the course of the week. There is a system that might be traveling through Central Plains into the Mississippi Valley Friday into Saturday. That could be a little bit more potent, but there's a lot of uncertainty with that at this time, so I'm not going anywhere near the higher end potential for now. And then it gets quiet again early next week.
Yep. So, James, what's the weather like in North Dakota?
Well, we're stuck in this big northwest flow pattern at the back end of this big trough today. So we had really light rain. Actually, snow levels were down to about 600 feet above the ground on Saturday. So we almost got a few flakes, and even some, I guess, the top of the radio towers and some hills outside even got some wet dustings. But today, some high lapse rates contributed some low top showers today, and it's been in the 60s. So that sun angle really working up here.
Yep, awesome. And it looked like some of the cities over in Minnesota this weekend had a high in the upper 40s, I think. But summer will be here before you know it. But while Aubrey is...
question. You chose to move to Fargo?
Yes, for my university. I got a scholarship to North Dakota State, so I chose to move to North Dakota, yes.
Bless you.
I told me it was crazy.
All right. Well, let's see if we can dig into the good old email inbox, because I have a funny feeling there just might be something there.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
I'm going to see if I can share this with... Oh, it's not doing it. All right. I don't know how to screen share without sharing something semi-inappropriate. But I just retweeted this.
What?
I'm just kidding. Reed Timmer just posted this from the backside of a supercell mammatus clouds on a tornado-warned supercell east of Roswell, New Mexico. So you can go to his page or you can go to my Twitter, and I just retweeted it. But the video is actually really, really, really cool. So just coming in. So
stand by. I have a funny feeling I can make that magic happen. This is a still shot of that, which you're looking at.
Yes.
This is the shot, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm seeing a lot of the guys, and again, I think we had some big-time chaser convergence out there because a lot of different feeds are showing the same scene there. But that is just a gorgeous shot. And for those that are listening, use your imagination. It is awesome.
All right, so let's see. Let's start with... All right, we're starting with Daniel Lucas. Here's the best mobile weather site, and it is preview.weather.gov, and then a bunch of other stuff. So maybe we can put that up on the website. Just kind of looking at it, it is a map of the U.S. with all of the watches, maybe warnings, kind of outlined. I can see all the river warnings throughout the Mississippi. It's got the radar on there, and if I'm not mistaken, it does not look like composite radar. And it's
what was the site again, Aubrey? I'm sorry.
It's try preview.weather.gov.
Okay, because it's not this one then. I was thinking of this. There's one called preview.weather.gov/EDD, the enhanced data display, and I don't know if that's the same one he's talking about. But
/EDD/resource/EDD mobile.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just on my computer I've got it as just preview.weather.gov/EDD, and I'm using it to display flash flood watches across the southeastern states, which is what you're seeing there. But it does have remarkable graphics and the ability to display a lot of things on there. So if you never played with that, that is a cool site.
This is what it's showing on mine.
Well, yes, I think the one you're showing there is intended for mobile devices.
Yes.
As opposed to the one that James is showing, which I'm not sure is.
I didn't know they had a mobile site version of that. That's
I didn't either till I saw his email.
Yeah, it looks really great, especially for a mobile.
It does.
Yeah, that's the best radar composite I've seen in a while. It looks good.
Yeah. All right, where am I? Where's my webs? I get lost. Oh, there we are. Okay. Next one comes in from James Deese. Oh, and we have to show this again. Oh, let me see if I can figure this out. All right, here we go. WeatherBrains bingo.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys see that? We've got Have You Tried Turning It Off and On Again?
Yes.
WeatherBrains episode number, Outrageous Things, Down the Tubes, pre-show.
Boring personal stories, humorous anecdotes.
Birmingham.
Reduced podcast version.
So I think we're going to have to kind of tweet that out before every show.
The best part of that thing was they misspelled Kevin's name. It says Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I noticed Kevin noticed that right away, too.
Oh, yeah. That Kevin, burr up his backside real quick.
Kevin was very forgiving of that right away. Let's see. The next one comes in from Devin Greeny, and we're going to have to screen share this also. I do some freelance photojournalism and writing. Did an interview with Mitch DeBrowner. His images are amazing, and one of the dramatic ones from 1922. Hold, please, and I will share. So that's a really cool image. I'm a little biased as Austin is the former city, but really cool. If you want to interview this guy, I think it would involve a Ouija board. From Devin Greeny in Memphis, who also mentioned our podcast in his paper on emergency management. So thank you. That's a pretty cool. We can probably use that site. Yeah, I haven't looked at the site yet, but we'll have to check that out. And then David Sharp, who sent in a guest suggestion for weather photography. If you must have Greg Johnson, Twitter at it's CANADO Greg. So Canado Greg, who is a former guest on WeatherBrains. And also Vanessa Newfield on Twitter. She's a spectacular Canadian freelancer. I'm sure their Twitter feeds are amazing with some pictures. So thanks for sending those in, David. And Elizabeth Ike sent in some articles old articles about the Joplin tornado. And they're pretty interesting about a butterfly kind of being the symbol of hope in Joplin. So if you have any emails to send us, any great links, any guest suggestions, any show topics, what you like, what you don't like about the show, email them to email@weatherbrains.com, email@weatherbrains.com. Don't forget to find us on the Twitter and the Facebook. And we love to get your emails.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Aubrey. And we are on the Face Bag and the Tweeter and everything else. All right. Time now for Picks of the Week. This is the time of the show. We go around this well-polished digital mahogany table and we share something weather related. This can be a website, hardware, software, book, anything closely related to weather. So, Brian, what you got for us this week?
The foghorn.
Wow.
Oh, you could take one of those
just a minute.
Tweeters. No, that's all right.
I'm going to blow it twice on Brian.
Yeah. I've been busy, James. I'm sorry.
I know. All right, Aubrey, what you got for us this week?
Okay, this one, I think Helicity Designs tweeted this out a few days ago. It's a GIS map showing tornado tracks defined by color, but you can also sort them by only F or EF5s, by only EF or F zeros and things like that. You can filter by date range, and it's a really cool website. Haven't had a big chance to play with it yet, but pretty cool to look at perspective.
Awesome. And again, all these links will be up on the website, weatherbrains.com. Mine is our friends up at the NASA Sport Group, up at the Marshall Space Flight Center. They have a satellite page, and they have added GOES 16 data. We've kind of featured the College of DuPage, and those guys just do a remarkable job. But the Marshall Space Flight Center, the NASA Sport guys have now GOES 16 on their page, and we will link to that on the website, weatherbrains.com. So I've stalled enough here, James and Mark, so now I got to throw to you guys. Mark, what's your pick of the week?
Well, I got to put in weatherbug.com. But no, it's
is this a condition of employment?
Yeah.
But good serious answer, though. One of my favorite up-and-coming weather model sites where I go for forecasts, tropicaltidbits.com, which is run by Levi Cohen, has quickly become my favorite go-to model site when I get into work in the morning, just because it's the ease of use and navigating through it. And it's clean, it's simple, and it's all the information that I need to do my forecast.
And it's more than tropical data. He's got everything there, right?
He's got all the high-res models that you can quickly go through and click on different regions and scroll through timestamps. And most of the models are now even supporting point-and-click soundings that you can go through. So,
yeah, and pivotal weather is kind of like that too. And then, of course, on the for pay side, you got Weather Bell, but it's all good stuff. But that's great, and we'll put a link up on WeatherBrains.com. All right, James, what you got for us?
Well, I don't know if this is a pick of the week. I actually, speaking of Go 16 in sport, I've got the first public image of Go 16 on a poster right behind me, which is sorry for all the audio listeners. Yeah, and I've got this little Lego Go 16 model to boot. This thing. I told you I'm a remote sensing freak. I know. Look at this. This is so cool. For all the non-audio listeners, it's a Lego model of Go 16. It's about 4 inches high and 3 inches long, and it's got all the little instruments on it. Is that good, Mr. Span?
That's good enough. Can you buy this thing?
I'm not sure if you can buy it anymore. I know it was a giveaway at some of the NASA NOAA events in DC and for Lockheed Martin, and may be available online or eBay. I'm not sure. But
awesome. That is way too cool.
Yes.
All right. So I'm pretty much the lead story, guys. You know what that means. We got to kind of put a bow on this thing. Brian, you good? Anything else?
I got one more thing very quickly. I thought I would post a link to Significant Tornado 1680 to 1991 from my friend Tom Grazoulis. And I find it very interesting that, it always gives you on Amazon, it gives you more choices. Mm-hmm. So you can buy it for $2.99. You can get it used from $2.99, or you can buy one new for $4,832.01.
I saw that too.
What?
I was like, what?
Oh, what?
That's what it says.
That must
Good
be the cost
Lord.
of it remade.
Oh, plus $3.99 shipping.
Wow. That's
that's great.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, listen, thank you guys for watching and or listening. WeatherBrains is typically done Monday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Most people that watch at live.bigbrainsmedia.com. But we know most of you listen, and we thank you for doing that. The website, weatherbrains.com, has the show notes, including all of the picks of the week and the websites we've talked about. It has our social media account information. And remember, the email address for the show, it's email@weatherbrains.com. We love getting your email. If you listen by chance on the Apple side on iTunes, we love those iTunes comments. Good, bad, whatever. We just love to hear from you. So on behalf of the entire WeatherBrains crew, I'm James Spann. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and God bless. Thanks, everybody. That was a good show.
Thank you, James and Mark. We appreciate you being here.
James and Mark, thank you, guys.
Great to be invited.